Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridharadhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridharadhari Yashoda Nandana Brajachana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Brajachana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachami Yamuna Tira Vanachami Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridharadhari Yashoda Nandana Brajachana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Rama Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Rama Rama Shri Guru Prabhupada Ki Jai. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today we are reading from the Srimad-bhagavatam, 8th Canto, Chapter 2, Text 31. Ithanga sa yadapa sankatam pranashadehi vivasho yadrichaya aparayan atma vimokshane chiran Dajavimang bhuding atabhya padyata itanga chandra sa yadapasankatam pranashadehi vivasho yadvichaya aparayan atma vimokshane chiram Dajavimang bhudim atavya padyata Ithanga chandra sa yadapasankatam pranashadehi vivaso yadrichaya aparayan atma vimokshane chiram Tadhyavimang bhuding atavya padyata Ithangajendra sa yadapasankatam Pranashadehi vivasho yadrichaya Aparayan atma vimokshane chiram Yajavimang bhudim atavya padyata Itanga chandra sa yadapasankatam Pranashadehi vivasho yadrichaya Aparayan atma vimokshane chiram Yajavimang bhudim atavya padyata Ithanga chandra sa yadapasankatam Pranashadehi vivasho yadrichaya Aparayan atma vimokshane chiram Dajavimang bhudim atavya padyata Okay, going on. Word for word. Itam. In this way. Gaja Indraha. The king of the elephants. Saha. He. Yada. When. Apa. Obtained. Sankatam. Such a dangerous position. Pranasha. Of life. Dehi. Who is embodied. Vivashaha. Circumstantially helpless. Yadvichaya. By the will of providence. Aparayan. Being unable. Atma vimokshane. To save himself. Chiram. For a long time. Dadyo. Began to think seriously. Imam. This. Buddhim. Decision. Atta. Thereupon. Adyapadyata. Reached. Translation. When the king of the elephants saw that he was under the clutches of the crocodile by the will of providence, and being embodied and circumstantially helpless, could not save himself from danger, he was extremely afraid of being killed. He consequently thought for a long time and finally reached the following decision. Let's repeat after me. When the king of the elephants saw that he was under the clutches of the crocodile by the will of providence, and being embodied and circumstantially helpless, could not save himself from danger. He was extremely afraid of being killed. He consequently thought for a long time and finally reached the following decision. Purport. Everyone in the material world is engaged in a struggle for existence. Everyone tries to save himself from danger, but when one is unable to save himself, if he is pious, he then takes shelter of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, verse 16. Chaturveda bhajate man jana sukriti arjuna arto jigyasur artarti jnani cha bharatarshaba. Four kinds of pious men, namely, one who is in danger, one who is in need of money, one who is searching for knowledge, and one who is inquisitive, begin to take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in order to be saved or to advance. The king of the elephants, in his condition of danger, decided to seek shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. After considerable thought, he intelligently arrived at this correct decision. Such a decision is not reached by a sinful man. Therefore, in the Bhagavad Gita, it is said that those who are pious, Sukriti, can decide that in a dangerous or awkward condition, one should seek shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Nena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So it says, at the king of the elephants, seeing his situation, he intelligently arrived at the correct decision. Intelligence. What is intelligence? We discussed yesterday. Yes, basically. The intelligence, to make some, the ability to analyze a situation in proper perspective is what Srila Prabhupada says. But the proper perspective means understanding I'm spirit soul and Krishna is God and I have a relationship with him and he's my protector. So one is a person that's the sign of a person being intelligent. And here Srila Prabhupada quotes the one of the famous verses in Bhagavad Gita about the four kinds of pious people who take to devotional service. It doesn't mean that they're pure, but it means that they because they have some piety, because they have they believe in God, and they're godly to some degree. So when they get in problem, then they turn to the Supreme Lord for help. Someone who is not at all pious, when they get in problem, then they become more demonic. The demonic mentality is described. Actually, the mentality is described in the Bhagavad Gita verses. The demon thinks, so much wealth do I have today, and I will get more according to my schemes. And my enemy has been killed, and others who become my enemy, I will kill them also. And so on like that. So I'm perfect, I'm powerful, I'm happy. Anyway, this is demonic mentality. So that kind of person who's not pious, when he's in danger, he doesn't turn towards God. He just becomes more demoniac. But if someone is pious, then they naturally think about God. Even in the just like the whole scientific field, there's a lot of atheists because they're trying to think and explain everything, intentionally leaving out God. But when there's some extraordinary difficulty, then, oh my God, what has happened? God help us, like that, right? Like when in the United States space program, I think I remember that when I was at the school. I was in elementary school. I was pretty young at school. I don't know. They sent a rocket up, and this was the first time they had a civilian also in the crew. It was a school teacher, actually, in fact. There's somehow one school teacher got the opportunity and trained up, and uh, you know, she went, she um, she was going to go into space for a short time with all the other astronauts, and that was, you know, it was considered like a really, it was like a special occasion. But that particular rocket, before it got very far, it exploded and everyone died. Uh, and you know, of course, the immediate response was, "Oh my God, God help us!" But they're probably not thinking, "Oh my God," so much when they were trying to make it happen. But all of a sudden, because when there's difficulty, the natural thing is you think about God. Uh, so so here we have, and it's not just here. So there's so many examples, but we're talking about Gajendra, the elephant, the king of the elephants. So here he is. We were reading yesterday that he's been fighting for 1,000 years for with this crocodile who's got a hold of his foot, and he's becoming very weak. He's becoming very discouraged, frustrated. Yeah, and he's practically almost ready to just give up the fight. He can't. He's so big and powerful, but because he's not in his comfort zone, we'll say, he's not on land, and the crocodile is in his comfort zone. He's in the water. So because of that, he was losing out. So when he saw there's no other way, uh, there's no way other way, I'm going to defeat this crocodile. What did he do? He remembered God, finally. But Prabhupada's point here is that meant that he was pious. Uh, I think this elephant was someone special from a previous lifetime. He took this particular birth, although I don't recall who it was. Yeah, it'll come up because he remembered something from his previous. But anyway, we'll get to that when we get to it. Um, and Srila Prabhupada also said, people in general are, um, uh, even though acting in a wrong way, people in general are generally they're innocent. Not that they're not that they're right in eating meat and intoxication, and all these things, but people in general have some amount of piety, something, but they've been misled. This is the problem in the material society. Most people are um, most people are followers. Most people follow. There's, you know, it's just a nature, the way of, it's a nature's way. Most people are followers. Few are leaders. And if those who are in a leadership position, who have a tendency to lead, if those who have a tendency to lead, if they mislead, they give wrong knowledge, wrong information, uh, wrong goal of life, then naturally the people that are followers will become confused, misled, and that's why society is where it's at now. You can People in general will follow if they have a good leader, then they will follow. Um, if there was in the world or if in a country you had a super pious, God conscious um, king, president, or leader, national leader, if we had that, then the people in society in general would want to follow that person, and they would also become uh, develop the same qualities. But the leaders are the leaders are put into position, generally speaking, the leaders are put into position by the democratic society. They're put in position because they were voted for, and the people in general are not really qualified to make those kind of decisions of voting. And they just listen to what the politicians say. That I promise you this, and I promise you this. And, they see what do the people want. They study these things, and then they promise that. And then the other side of it is they completely tear apart the opponent and try to prove that they're not qualified. But in the end, they can't. Usually, the leaders, whoever gets elected, they're not able to actually satisfy those demands that they are promising to satisfy. Shishi Gornitai, Shishi Lada Vajrihari, Tigna, Balara, Lady Sabadru, and Shigane, Buladma, Shijai. But that's why, again, that's why we in Krishna consciousness, we may not be in leadership position as far as the general society, politics, and like that, but we should at least get the knowledge out to the people in general. If the leaders don't listen, at least if the people in general listen, they can understand what is the actual purpose of life. I mean, the best thing is if the leaders listen, and then they can guide people. But even if one's not in a leadership position, if people in general become knowledgeable, it's like in Satya Yuga, the power was basically was in the hands of the Brahmanas mostly. I mean, in fact, there was no. In the beginning of Satya Yuga, there wasn't. Of course, there were kings, but the Brahmanas were especially powerful. And then in the Treta Yuga, the Kshatriyas became more powerful, and the Brahmanas a little bit less. And in the Dwapara Yuga, then the Vaishyas became more prominent. And in the Kali Yuga, everyone's born Shudra, and it's basically that's who's calling the shots. Even if someone might be in the position, get elected, they're the president of the country, or the king of the country, or the prime minister of their country, whatever title they have. But for the most part, they're all, as far as quality, it's a Shudra level, and they're voted into that position by others who are of that nature. That's the problem. The Vedic system of monarchy, when the monarch was a pure devotee of Krishna, then it was the best system because they made sure that everyone lived in such a way that they would advance on the spiritual path. That was their service to society. They made sure people became Krishna conscious. But in modern times, it doesn't exist as far as the government goes. No one is going to make sure that the people in general are becoming Krishna conscious. It's not possible. And of course, how does someone become pious? Pious means that you've done some kind of good results, good activity, and you're getting the results. And the kind of pious activity which is favorable for Krishna consciousness, or that's the best one, because it will actually help you to become God conscious, and that's where the Krishna consciousness movement again comes in. because we can give through giving the holy name, through giving books, through getting people to say come to the temple and attending the programs, the festivals, and so on, and we can give them a chance to engage in pious activities, agyata sukriti, even if they don't understand what they're doing, but they're getting spiritual benefit by, so Srila Prabhupada says if you're out selling books and someone even touches the book, then they're getting benefited. The goal is not just touching the book, but even that, they get benefited, and then that benefit is because of that contact, that very minor contact with Krishna. They're getting some sukriti, some pious result that will help them eventually to eventually take up Krishna consciousness. That's the benefit. Or someone gets some prasadam. Someone may come here not really interested in Krishna consciousness, give them some prasadam, then they're getting some benefit that will help them ultimately in their spiritual life. Maybe later in this lifetime, maybe another lifetime, but that's becomes part of their spiritual bank account. In general, people are putting everything into the wrong account, so to speak. We have a nice play that we sometimes always put on. It was called the play, but it was somebody who was his whole lifetime he's earning money, and he's taking his money to the bank, he's putting it in the bank, thinking, okay, a little bit more, I want to retire, and then I can enjoy all this money I've been putting in the bank. And then when he finally goes to get the money and enjoy the fruits of all his labor, and they say, well, sir, you're sorry, but your account doesn't have any money in it. And he said, well, what's happened? Every week I've been putting more and more in for 40 years now. I've been putting money in this account. How can there be nothing there? Oh, sorry, but you've been putting it in the wrong account. You've been putting it in somebody else's account. And then it's like that. And of course, the purport of all that is that if we were putting a lot of energy, a lot of the results of our work and for material purpose, then that is it's a waste. It's a waste. If it's not connected to Krishna consciousness, then it's a waste. But if we put our energy, our money also, our energy, our endeavors, and if we put it all in the service of the Lord, then that's a permanent bank account. And that actually is permanent. Money, of course, physically something can happen. Go through another big depression or something, like back in the 1930s. That can happen. But spiritually speaking, anything that we've put into our spiritual bank account is never lost, which is actually encouraging. It's a very encouraging proposition that we can give for Krishna, and even if we don't finish up our Krishna consciousness in this lifetime, we don't lose out on what we put into Krishna consciousness. Nothing is lost. Only sometimes there is something maybe some delay in taking up Krishna consciousness again if we stopped Krishna consciousness because of some offense, maybe. That can happen. It's just like if we're born and then we're 20 or 30 or 40 years old, when we actually come in contact with Krishna consciousness, it may have been because we committed some offense before, But when we do take it up Krishna consciousness, it's like wow, this is just like we're continuing something that we that we that we were very familiar with. But we may have to wait for so many years before we actually take it up, because we may have committed some kind of offense previously that caused us to stop, and as a result of that offense, we've had to wait for some period of time to take it up again. But the actual results have not been lost. It's just been a little delay because of some wrong activity. So anyway, we're reading about here about Gajendra, and he is working very, very hard for 1,000 years trying to save himself, and he finally came to the conclusion, because he has some piety, he finally came to that conclusion that that I have no other choice. I have to surrender to Krishna. And of course, the best thing is not wait until we're absolutely, just have no other choice. You're like, I don't want to surrender. No, Krishna, I'm not going to surrender. I'm not going to surrender. I'm not going to surrender. But in the end, okay, I surrender. I give up. And it was surrender. Okay, well, at least we surrender in the end. But the idea is we all go through, every day we go through different challenges, big challenges, small challenges. And so we shouldn't be thinking, we live a life of sense gratification, and I'm going through these, and we're dealing with our challenges. We should be thinking, how can I just give everything in Christian service? And we shouldn't be thinking how I can, as a last resort, there's no way around it, no way I can get out of it, then I'll surrender to Krishna. Why wait until then? We're trying to develop that mood, that everything that happens in our life, we are seeing how I can use this to help me to surrender to Krishna. That's the proper mentality. Gajendra didn't do that. He just went to he just couldn't. He was afraid he was going to die, and he had no other choice. And then he says, "Okay, now finally, I'm going to surrender to Krishna." But the goal is to dedicate our life, actually surrender to Krishna, or surrender to the process, become convinced and committed to the path of Krishna consciousness, and be looking for how, on a daily basis, how can I surrender to Krishna? How can I do something which will constantly, enhance my devotional service? So that's where we should be at, and that's what Srila Prabhupada taught us, of course. Dedicate your whole life in Krishna service. We get up early, chant our rounds, follow the principles like that. We can break your head, so to speak, spiritually. So how I can thinking and planning how I can give Krishna consciousness to others. This is what we should be doing, and then of course when difficulties come, we naturally think we naturally take shelter of Krishna. It becomes very easy to take shelter of Krishna if we've been practicing all the time. And again, this is sadhana bhakti, practice of devotional service. And the whole point of sadhana bhakti is so that we practice thinking about Krishna all the time, until that thinking about Krishna becomes, second nature, right? Second nature. So when we then we can succeed. I could go on, but I really don't have a whole lot of time today. So maybe I should stop here and ask any questions, comments.
As you were ending there, what's the second after sadhana bhakti? Then you're thinking of Krishna. automatic in a sense. You're not. Then what is it?
Well, there's sadhana bhakti has two parts. There's the first part. First part is called Vaidhi Bhakti. That means it means rules and regulations. Vaidhi, Vidhi, means rules and regulations, and that means that, and Srila Prabhupada explains Vaidhi Bhakti like that. He says that he gives the example of, okay, you're taking up Krishna consciousness, and he likes to use the example of going to Mongol Arti. It's early in the morning, and it's not always easy to get up. So he says, okay, spiritual master says, your duties every day, go to Mongol Arti, chant your rounds, go to Mongol Arti, everything. And so he says in the beginning, very beginning, when we think, so early in the morning, I just went to sleep at 2 o'clock last night, and I got to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to go, and I can't do it. It's like that. So there's a struggle like that. But then it says that by doing it regularly, under the instructions of the guru, and practicing in that way, then in time you start to develop a taste for it. So that when you start getting that taste, and you're thinking, like you're actually looking forward to it, then it starts to go into the Raganuga sadhana bhakti. It's the beginning stage of Raganuga sadhana bhakti. So Vaidhi sadhana bhakti, and where we just do things because we know I've got to do it. I want to become Krishna conscious. I have to do like this. We using our intelligence. Okay, I want to become Krishna conscious. I want to follow the rules, regulations, so I can become Krishna conscious. That's Vaidhi bhakti, and then Raganuga bhakti, at least the beginning stages of it, and it's gradual. So it's not you're kind of phasing out of Vaidhi and more into Raganuga. So in Raganuga bhakti, then you start thinking, you're actually getting up, and you're actually looking forward to getting up, or maybe if you have your initiations to like dressing the deities, you're thinking how can I do more and more and more service. So it starts getting into the Raganuga side. I'm not just doing it because I was told I have to do it. I'm doing it because I really have getting a taste for it. Hare Krishna. Like that. So that's Raganuga, and that continues on for, well, the next stage after sadhana bhakti is bhava. That's the next major stage, and then actually there are other stages to it in the process, and then we gradually get. We get steadiness, right? And then there's attachment, and so on like that. There's actually different stages, but that's all before bhava, and then bhava, where you actually can experience, and you have some understanding who am I, and what is my eternal rasa with Krishna, and then. And then by perfecting that, then we have Krishna Prema, which is the highest perfection. I always get the prasadam. In this couple here, I always go and get a little prasadam from the refrigerator. Could you maybe find something for me? Yeah. Or somebody. Yeah. Don't go away. We'll get your prasadam. Like that. So that's the state. That's how the system works. And if someone by some chance, with a previous lifetime, has maybe they were pretty advanced, so the Vaidhi Bhakti part of it may be very short. In their case, maybe they've already gone beyond that, and they're very more spontaneous from the beginning, if they've advanced to that point previously. That can happen. What is your question? okay. You're welcome. Okay, so then I guess we'll end here for today. And tomorrow we will continue on with verse 32. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad-bhagavatam ki jai.